All right, all right, all right. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to our Winchell series of webinars that we're going to be running on Wednesdays throughout the rest of the year and hopefully into 2023. But I'm not ready to let go of 2022 yet because I don't know, just not ready to think about 2023 when I got a son graduating from high school in 2025. So anyway, my name is Rob Romanowski. I'm the Director of Sales Operations for 3HTI. And the whole purpose of these webinars is to give you, our audience, some tips and tricks and some more better understanding of Winchell and PLM. And one of the areas that we're going to look at today a little more closely can be a pretty big area that can create that issues. If it's not being done properly, there can be a lot of issues regarding your parts classification. A lot of times, and we know this from our customers, if an engineer can't find the right part or he's having trouble finding the right part, if there was any question, they just design a new one. And then what happens is you get a backlog of all these different parts that are the same. They might have different part numbers. And it's also the time that it takes to, model and make those parts. And each time they do it, it's a waste of their time. It makes things clunky and it just doesn't run smoothly. So this Winchell parts classification, there's other aspects to it too. So without any other monologue from me, I'm going to let Zach Carson, who is a solutions consultant and applications engineer with PTC's Virtual Center of Excellence, take us through a brief demonstration, a brief PowerPoint and demo regarding Winchell parts classification. So Zach, we're seeing your screen and you can take it away.
All right, thanks for the intro, Rob. So yeah, today we're just gonna take a look at Winchell parts classification at a pretty high level, but it's gonna give you a good understanding of what this tool is, what it's capable of, and some ways that it can benefit you. So what this extension, or what this module really does within Creo, is it allows you to manage different parts in your system based on attributes, which we call classifications. So this is really going to promote reuse and reduce inventory in your Winchell system. Now, from talking to so many companies in the industry, we found that a lot of them face very similar challenges when it comes to managing all of their parts that your organization uses. That starts with an inability to reuse parts. And then that results in a whole lot of duplicates, right? Designers end up, like Rob said, redesigning parts that already exist simply because they can't find them. And then you end up having multiple copies of the same or maybe just very similar parts that you end up kind of stuck with an overabundance of in your inventory. Makes it hard to reuse anything, makes it hard to standardize on one particular model and track all of the changes and the versions of that. As a byproduct of that, engineers just end up doing what Rob said. They redesign them, right? They're essentially becoming, at that point then, unproductive because now they have to then waste time that would have been value-added time on redesigning a model that already exists simply because you just can't find the original one. And what this results in is increased inventory costs because you end up purchasing duplicates you won't use. Engineers end up spending time designing models that already exist. And then even if this is really only for a handful of parts, if you repeat this process over and over again, it's going to dramatically shoot up your inventory costs. Winchell parts classification is PTC's solution to these challenges. So with this, you're getting advanced searching capabilities within the Classification Explorer. And we'll take a look at this in the demonstration. But what this really is it allows you to search for objects in Winchell simply based on whatever that component is, right? So almost like a McMaster-Carr style catalog in a sense, right? So if you have, some examples might be if you have electrical components and then you have within those electrical components, you have diodes and you have resistors and things like that. And you want to search on even the characteristics of those components, such as resistance, or if it's hardware, maybe you're searching on a washer diameter or washer thickness, right? Whatever specifications you need to meet basically with the part that you're searching for. Now within this classification explorer, you're able to tailor these part structure configurations. So if you take this picture on the right, for example, in your browser, you can choose between electronic and mechanical components. And then within the electronic category, you have all of your different electronic components. So you could set up categories and then subcategories, however you see fit, but it's going to make organizing this information, finding the information, and then reusing the information way, way, way easier. And what this is really doing is it's just providing you a single point of access to all of your data, where you can just quickly search for parts to reuse for different designs. That really, if you're familiar with Winchell, it really comes down to WT parts, right? They contain all of the information pertaining to the object. So then the designers, the engineers, whoever it is, can look at the part in one location and be able to tell if it meets the necessary requirements or not. All right. So with that being said, we are going to go ahead and jump into Winchell, and we're going to take a look at what parts of classification actually looks like. So here we are in the Winchell home screen, and we're going to start today in this little advanced search window. If you've never used Winchell, then this is completely foreign to you. If you've used Winchell and even used the advanced search before, what you'll notice is we're actually going to have a category come up that might not be something that you've seen before. And that is the little classification option here at the bottom. So within Winchell, because it's ideally your single source for information, there's tons of different objects that you can manage in the system. You can see some of those objects there at the top. For this, we're focusing specifically on WT parts, or the part in particular. And a lot of our classifications in this case are going to be managed within that part. Now, this is really where you're going to go, this classification, to actually access your different classes and schema that your company is going to set up through this classification explorer. Kind of referencing back to that example we had in the PowerPoint, it was mechanical versus electronic. So to give you an idea how this works, I'll go into the classification explorer option at the top, and this is where we can start to see the tree on the left that breaks down all of our different components. So I'll expand this and it'll give you a more clear image of this. Right, so if I wanted to find electronic components, I select on electronics. I can have different classes. I can have subclasses. I can get down very granular with it, depending on how many levels of components you're actually going to have. But really what's happening is you can see the whole class tree and then expand and see everything. And this really gives you visibility into the whole organization of parts that you set up. And then you can quickly access each one of them. You can click on the images there. You can select on the names, right? And just have a much easier time finding different objects that you may or may not have managed in the system. So this is going to help your designers to ensure they have a simple place to go to and see if you actually have a part. Check your inventory. Are they going to have to redesign it, or is it something that already exists? Let's say for this example, I want to go into mechanical. I don't actually, I might not actually know if the part that I need exists or not. I don't know a name of the part. I don't maybe know a supplier that I'm getting it from or anything, but I just want to see, do we have this size flat washer that I need? So what I can do is you can see the classification explorer is linked directly to the search results window that you're used to working in if you're searching for any information, via part number. And through this results, you can see in this case, I have 51 different flat washers that I'm managing in Winchell through the classification explorer. Now, to find what I'm actually looking for, I can refine my results through all kinds of different criteria. If these are, if I'm managing suppliers and vendor information, I can filter on that. I can say, all right, filter, just show me the washers that have approved suppliers. Just show me washers that have this outside diameter minimum. Show me washers that are, regular sized, or have a certain inner diameter, and I can refine these results until I find the washer that meets the exact specifications that I need, right? So this is how we're reusing things that already exist. We're not creating duplicates. Then of course, I have my visualization so I can actually see and make sure, all right, yeah, this piece is what I'm looking for, at least from a high level. You know, I didn't look at lock washers by accident or something. And then I can start to investigate this a little bit more. You can see, you know, the classification there. We have sourcing status. That's one thing that we filtered on. And then the classification, you can see the breadcrumb trail there. So this is a part within, or this is a flat washer within the washers category, which is within metric fasteners, which is within mechanical, which is a part that we're managing in Winchell. So you can just see the general breakdown there. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up to just view this particular part in detail. And what you'll see there is this flat washer has a classification group. So these are the different classifications that I have set up and I have classified this washer within. So these classifications are going to be something that your company specifies. You can create whatever classifications you want to. You can create templates for the classifications. You can modify classifications. You can have different components, you know, by default follow certain classifications. So this is configurable in really whatever way that you want to, really just whatever makes the most sense to organize your different parts. And then down below, again, just see that breadcrumb trail to actually take a look at where this part is classified within. Now within this, just like any other part that we're looking at in Winchell, we can also go to the where used and you can see exactly the assembly that this is being used on. You know, in this case, it's a radiator. If I go to that radiator, you know, maybe I want to come in here and I want to insert a brand new component that is going to be classified. Maybe it's not even a part that's classified yet. So what we can do is first, I'm just going to select to insert a new part here. We're going to give it just a standard part type. And then whenever I go to do this, what you'll see is this is really where you'll get a good idea how we can reuse these different these different parts that are classified in Winchell, right? So what I'm doing, just going through and putting in the necessary attributes. And then if you look here, I have a specific category for classifications. And what this category does is it actually allows me not to necessarily type a part number in, because I don't know if this part exists yet, but reference my classification explorer and search for this part, right? To see if this is a flat washer that we actually have in the system. And then if it is, or if this is a new part we're inserting, to actually give this part a classification like we're doing here. So I'm saying I'm inserting a plain washer, M30, regular. This is classified in my flat washers classification. All right, and then I'll give it, you know, a specific size, the washer series, the general classification information. Just like any other object that you are setting up criteria for, you know, you can pick which one of these categories are required. An asterisk would denote if it's required or not. So in this case, none of this is required, but you might want this information to all be required so that you can kind of standardize the process when it's entered in and make sure that everything is falling into a classification. So now what we did there was I created a new part in Winchell that is now classified as a regular washer. And I'm going to go ahead and check this radiator assembly back in. Just leave a quick comment here as well. I always recommend leaving comments wherever possible to, you know, let everyone else know any changes that we made. And now with that part classified and managed in Winchell, let's go ahead and try to search for it using our classification explorer. So that was a part that I just created here. It was an M36 washer. So we're going to go back to this classification explorer, and this should be a part that now exists within this Explorer as part of the synergy context, because that's what I created it within. And you can see here, there it is. So plain washer M36, regular A.1, that's exactly what we were looking for, because whenever we create a part, that's the naming convention that we assign to it. It's within the design bill of material. So all that looks perfect. And we did that very quickly. So that gives you a good idea kind of how easy it is to do, how easy it is to create new parts and put a classification on them. It's not like you're taking this, it's not like it's this massive extra step that you have to do. I classified that in 20 seconds. And now what I've done is I've made everyone else's lives a whole lot easier, because they can search for this part that I created. They can reuse this part. And we're gonna, hopefully cut down on those inventory costs as a result of it. Now, the last thing that I want to look into for this classification explorer is the actual administration side of it, right? So before you can classify anything into classifications, you're going to need to set up the different schema for them and the different classes that you're actually going to organize these parts in. So that's what we do within this classification administration context in the browser, right? So I'm going to go to manage classifications. And the tree that you can see here is exactly the same tree as what we saw in the beginning, but this is more of the administrative side of things, where we can actually come in here and edit any of this, right? So if I wanted to come in, I wanted to look at the attributes. These should look familiar, because this is what we classified our washers based on. I can change any of these. I can add to this. I can, delete things. I can assign auto naming rules. I can give different layouts and things, right? The idea here is you are going to add this classification criteria based on what makes sense for you, based on your preferences, whatever properties you want to classify parts with. So you can always add in more, you can remove some, just all comes down to your personal preference. And there's really no limit to how many classes you can have or subclasses. You can have as many attributes as you want. All right, so that is kind of parts classification in a nutshell. We went through searching for information using the classification explorer, created a new part within a product and assigned it classes to search on in the system, and then looked at the administrative side of parts classification, where you're creating and then managing the schema in Winchell. So this isn't really a difficult concept, but it is something that's incredibly valuable, and even more so with the more parts that you have in your system, or as your supply chain becomes more complex and you're working with different vendors and suppliers, maybe even depending on the different locations that you have. So I do have a few more points I'd like to that I'd like to cover that just summarize what Winchell parts classification is going to do for your company. First off, it's going to improve overall productivity, because your designers and your engineers can quickly search and find detailed parts and models and then reuse them on other product designs. You're not going to have to worry about actually, does a part exist or not? I'm going to be able to search on it through the classification explorer and find a part and look at my different criteria for that part and make sure that this is something that actually fits what I need that part to do. You're going to reduce product complexity and increase quality with fewer unique parts that your company is designing for each one of your products. And then you're just going to reduce inventory costs, because you're managing your parts better. You're reusing parts, and you have more visibility into past designs and parts that you've used on different products and are now applicable to the current product that you're actually working on. So that's all that I had planned to go through for this demonstration of Winchell parts classification.
Excellent. Thank you, Zach.
Sure, anytime,
Good
Rob.
stuff. Good stuff. So, I mean, that's going to conclude the webinar for the day. I don't think there's anything that we need to rehash at this point because, you know, Zach went through everything pretty diligently. And if you have any questions, you know, you can email us at info@3hti.com, or you can reply to the email that you originally were sent for the invitation for this webinar. And next week, or actually in 2 weeks, on the 26th, we're going to have another webinar on ransomware. So we've been able to help a couple of our customers last year that were hit with a ransomware attack, and it doesn't seem, and ransomware attacks have increased, I mean, tripled since last year. So this is something that Winchell can be used to help fend off and prevent these attacks from happening. So we're going to have that webinar on the 26th. So keep an eye out for that. So Zach, once again, thank you very much for leading the webinar today. And to our audience, thanks for being on. And we will see you in a couple of weeks. Take care, everybody.
Bye.